Welcome back. This is the Daily Brief. We've changed our sign language interpreter. We now have Walter Asew. Now, the question that we're simply asking, even as, the Speaker of the National Assembly asks his members to stop being, cozy with witnesses during the parliamentary probes, has the National Assembly been compromised? Eric, I'll start with you.
The National Assembly I became compromised when many of our MPs who are there went in wrongly. Some of them pushed their way through nominations. Some of them were beaten in nominations, and they are there. After being beaten, the power that be, if it was Jubilee then, wanted their own people who they wanted to be in parliament to make it to parliament. So some of them who are in parliament were not actually the winners. Some of them bought their way into parliament. So two wrongs don't make a right. So now those people already in their mind they are compromised. That's why some MP also said someday in my pay slip I earn 50,000. He wants to maintain the MP status if it is that is true. So what will he do? He'll make sure he sits on all committees, go to all meetings, and make sure he raises money to sustain. We are a corrupt country. What we need to do is an overhaul mindset. And overhaul mindset means this. If Uhuru means job, it means if it is that Mau forest, plus the people who got it from the civil service of the Moi time, can they just give us a break and go out? If it is going through these water towers and all these houses that brought up in Nairobi here, let us bomoa them and continue. That's the only way. If it doesn't go that way,
so you're simply saying the backyard stops with the president in terms of change of the society. Osfungus, let me hear from you. And the question on the table is simply whether the National Assembly has been compromised without forgetting its oversight mandate here.
The National Assembly, from where I sit, indeed, there are some aspects of compromise. Allow me to give you a case in an example. When Kenyans from County 045 wanted to petition Parliament on the issue of foreign diplomacy, that one Kenyan has been held in custody in TZ for the last 6 years. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs acted in negligence and favorism by extraditing 4 Kenyans from Southern Sudan, but they have absconded Don Bosco Ogagichana, who was stayed for TZ for more than 7 years without being tried. He has been imprisoned without trial.
What does that mean for you? What does that mean for you?
Hold on. First, you see, when we talk of rights and fundamental freedoms of Kenyans, we talk of Kenyans, citizens who are in the country and outside. When we talk of the Constitution as the supreme law of the Republic and say that the validity and the legality of this Constitution is not subject to challenge before or by any court or state organ, we mean any court in Kenya or outside Kenya. We mean any state organ in Kenya or outside Kenya. Don Bosco has suffered very severely. His fundamental freedoms from equality and freedom from discrimination, human dignity, freedom of expression, freedom of movement, political rights, fair hearing. Every person has a right to an order of habeas corpus. Habeas corpus is in Latin, which means that a person can report unlawful detention or imprisonment by requesting the court to order the custodian of the person, who is mainly the prison official, to bring the prisoner to court. Don Bosco Ogagichana has been neglected by the government of Kenya, and that is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Director of public prosecutions with the age.
Okay, with special focus on the National Assembly, that is where we are at. How can we change the kind of attitude that even the Speaker himself is criticizing the members?
Okay, the Speaker has powers with his leadership as the chairman. So the problem here is not about the Speaker. The problem is about the encroachment that through the executive, Parliament has been compromised. You see, executive authority derives from the people of Kenya, and they shall be exercised in accordance with this, the Constitution. Now, the President, who is the head of government and the state, and who heads the executive, from where I sit, I have no doubt in my mind that is the only person who can move and act to redeem the Parliament by avoiding interfering.
Okay. Thank you for that. Of course, Wambui, you were reacting to the question whether Parliament has been compromised and how we can address this in future. And of course, if that is the case, we have to live with this for the next 4 years until the next elections.
Yeah, I think we have a very good constitution that sets out the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature as independent units of government. And it is unfortunate that the Constitution gives mandate to each of these arms for them to carry out independent duties. But we see that all these arms, even if they should be interdependent on each other, as much as they are independent, some of them are compromising on the integrity of the houses. And how we can address this is by holding the people we elected into account, and by letting them know that we sent you. We also have a weakness as Kenyans. We do not know why we sent MPs to Parliament. It is for them to legislate, to give laws, and to represent the people, to oversight on government. So they cannot do this if they are compromised by the executive or even the judiciary.
Okay, thank you. Final word on this, Benji.
I agree with Eric that we have a problem with how we do our politics, that our politics is largely driven by money, illicit money. Voter bribery is a huge feature of that. So I really very much agree with him. I just want to challenge him that his party, ODM, when it comes to nominations, and I was one of the first to raise this again on the record, is one of the biggest perpetrators of the madness in nominations, where you have nominations, most chaotic, and somebody shows up with money and buys a certificate. He knows that that is true. And so, yes, while we espouse these values publicly, we must also remember that charity begins at home, and you must clean house even as you clean the country. So it's no slight on him, it's on the party. And because he's really a voice for change, an agent for change.
Give him an opportunity to react to, but first, let's finish on the National Assembly. How do we change this?
How we change it is by changing our politics, by doing our politics differently.
So
by
you're saying it starts at the political party?
It starts at, the electorate is the problem, because it's the same electorate that says, nipe kakitu nikupigie, or nipe kakitu niende kwa line, nipe kakitu niende nilete wengine waingie kwa line. So you cannot plant sisal seeds and expect that after the rains, you will harvest maize. Anybody who wants to challenge that statement is free to meet me in any court, and we can debate that.
Thanks. I'd like us to cross over to, Eric, I'll give you a moment, kindly. I'd like us to cross over to Narok, where Victor Olo is actually following the fact that leaders from the Maa community will today convene to discuss matters of Maa evictions, and then, of course, my panel will react to that. Victor, a very good morning to you. Perhaps tell us, what exactly is this meeting about? And you have been covering the Mao evictions here. Some call on discussions in regards to human rights violation and inhumane act being carried out. What are the leaders expected to say about this?
Yeah, for the last 3-4 days that we've been here in Mao, we have witnessed so much happening here. And of course, we cannot downplay the effect of destruction of the forest and at the same time, the effect of humanitarian crisis that's affecting the residents who are evicted from the Mau forest. It's a matter that I know is going to continue for quite some time because politicians actually get time. Today is Friday. They get time over the weekend actually to debate on this matter over and over again. Throughout this week, we've heard and we've seen so many politicians castigating the manner in which these people were evicted from the forest. Some saying that, they were right to be evicted from the forest. Some saying that the manner in which they were evicted was not proper. And so we had different opinion from different leaders. Now, this is what's happening. Today, we expect Maasai leaders to hold a major rally, as they call it, or a meeting with the residents here and the locals here at a place called Ngareta Market. Now, Ngareta Market is somehow off Narok town, but is still within Narok County. So we expect all the leaders from the region to come and talk about the issue of Mau eviction. We do not know yet what they're going to talk about, but I know they're going to speculate on the manner in which these people have been evicted and, of course, calling upon probably the government to slow down on the evictions of the people who have been affected in the forest. Yesterday, we tried talking to some of the locals who are victims of the eviction, and they're saying that with them, they were not aware of what happened during eviction. They were quite innocent during that process of buying the land. And some of them had title deeds, as I mentioned earlier yesterday in our report. And some of them said that they were duped into buying some of these pieces of land from the Ogiek and from the Romo, and therefore they were innocent. They are throwing the ball back to the politicians, whom they say most of them are prominent politicians who are either serving in the past regimes of the President Daniel Arap Moi, and even some of the past regimes whom they claim that bought the pieces of land and thereafter subdivided these pieces and again resold to them. So the blame is going back to the politicians and even the powerful people who were in government by then. So today, most of the politicians here, in the next few hours, I know they are going to go to the Ngareta Market to talk to that matter. We know for sure that this weekend is going to be supercharged with a lot of politics surrounding the Mau eviction, because it's a matter that has been going on for quite a long time, almost a decade. And, every political cycle, politicians do come and they say, some of them saying that they don't need politicians to trust bring politics in the Mau eviction because they're the people who are suffering on the ground. But during politics, during campaigns, politicians do come around and start turning tables against them and start talking about people, going to the forest, some saying that they should not leave. We even saw the other day Marakwet Senator Kipchumba Murkomen even bought iron sheets, taking to the people who were living in the Mau forest to go back to the forest and rebuild. And of course, that attempt was thwarted by the authorities. So it's going to be charged, and of course, we are going to keep fort here in Mau to keep tabs on what's happening with the leaders trying to come to terms and even people who are evicted from the Mau forest. Mau forest, as I said earlier, is as big as Mount Kenya and Aberdare's ranges combined. So it covers almost 400,000 hectares of land. So you can imagine several places have been subdivided and sold to people who are suspecting and they did not know what's happening. And so the whole of the situation is going to be a cycle over the weekend. So what we can preempt that this weekend, starting today, is going to be charged with the politicians from the Rift Valley and the Mau Narok trying to trying to push the government probably not to evict those people who have been evicted at the Mau. So this weekend is packed. Ian?
Thank you very much, Victor, for that. It would be very interesting to see what the leaders from the Mau community will be saying. I'd like your reactions on this, Benji. Let me start with you. It seems to be quite a contentious. So I'm looking for the word here. But then, of course, over the time, the Mau seems to be used as a political tool here. But why? What are your sentiments on this?
The question, because,
in fact, you had Senator Kipchumba Murkomen here say that they're, taking sides between the cut line that was put by Raila Odinga and that was put by President Uhuru Kenyatta.
No, and that's ridiculous. And I had some discussions off air with Senator Murkomen. The problem with this country, and it harks back to our original, discussion on the panel this morning, Ian, is the kind of politics that we do. We truly must unite this country, whether you call it building bridges, whether you call it One Kenya, United Kenya. We really must desist from tearing this country apart, and that is why, personally, I hate Ukabila so much. So the Mau, for example, is in Bomet, is in Nakuru, is in Kericho, is in Narok. How come you are having a different discussion about a common forest that is in the Republic of Kenya, with one side talking one thing and then another talking another thing? Which is why, for example, I'm personally opposed to, for example, Kalenjin caucuses, or Wakamba caucuses, or Luo formation, or Sisi wa Kikuyu wa Central.
And
it's ridiculous.
Benji, the government has vowed to continue with this particular process.
And they should. Because
in what manner? In what manner?
In the manner that, first of all, it is preposterous, and we must call a spade a spade. This country needs leadership. And this is what President Uhuru is trying to do. And we must support him 100%, and any other well-meaning president that comes in the future that will say, why should you be living in a forest? Why should you be building on a road reserve? Why should you have a kiosk on a sewer line? These are bottom line issues.
You're a constitutional expert here, and the members of parliament are crying out loud that there are a lot of human rights violations in this particular process. Your take on that?
Ian, we all, children, the youth, persons with disabilities, older members of the society, men and women, we all have a duty to respect the environment, which is our heritage. And we must be determined to sustain it for the benefit of future generations. I am happy that already we have a task force through the Ministry of Environment, led by Keriako Tobiko, with the able leadership of the Deputy President. For the purposes of Article 42. Article 42 envisages the environment, that every person has the right to a clean and healthy environment, which includes the right, A, to have the environment protected for the benefit of present and future generations through legislative and other measures, particularly those contemplated in Article 69. Now, I go straight to Article 69. Article 69 contemplates obligations in respect to the environment. One, the state shall, the state shall ensure sustainable exploitation, utilization, management, and the conservation of the environment and natural resources, and ensure the equitable sharing of the accruing benefits. Two, work to achieve and maintain a tree cover of at least 10% of the land area of Kenya. C, protect and enhance the intellectual property in and indigenous knowledge of the biodiversity and genetic resources of the communities. Now, in regard to Mau conservation, is the government conserving Mau in a manner that is humane? One, no. Despite the fact that Mau has been encroached, these citizens have the rights to fair treatment as far as their fundamental rights and freedoms are concerned. Every person is equal before the law and has the right to equal protection and the equal benefit of the law. Equality includes the full and equal enjoyment of all rights and fundamental freedoms.
Thank you. Wambui, and then we finish with Eric here, kindly.
It is our basic duty as Kenyans, led by our government, to conserve and protect the environment. Some years back, we had people evicted from their badeas. And indeed, they got out because this is a forest. And as Kenyans, we cannot say that we are now going to settle in the forests because we do not need the forest. The people are more important than the forest. But of course, you as the people need the forest for even the rains and for conservation of the environment. And it is sad that politicians are bringing politics into
politics.
Yeah, into issues of national concern.
Okay.
This issue has come from national conservation to tribal politics to politics of division, and it cannot do the country any good. If someone, there is nothing like a Raila cut line or a Uhuru cut line. It is government cut line. And if government has set the policy that this is where the forest starts or ends, people, if you know that you encroach the forest, you get out, and there is no compensation because in the first place, that was not your land.
Okay, thank you. Eric, you have a final word on this. Benji, if time allows, I'll come back to you, but for now.
Thank you. Let's not be selfish. The Mau is an African heritage, not Kenyan. The Mau is the source of Lake Natron. The Mau is the source of Lake Nakuru, Lake Victoria, and River Nile. So the Mau is livelihood of Egypt, Sudan, and even many other environmental or any other animal that lives within the water or in the water. So what are we doing? We are killing the other countries by politicizing Mau. The reality remains here, that the Mau must be protected. People must leave the Mau. And if you ask me, Ian, I will tell you, the head starts to rot in a fish, not the tail. It started with the Moi government, then palpated by the Kibaki government, then massaged by the Uhuru government. And we are continuing to massage. The reality is, let's not go for the small people who owns 1 acre. We've lost, the Mau is a total of 273,300 hectares. As at now, we have eaten up to 20-something thousand hectares. We have to return it back. It has to be cut painfully, like a sharp blade entering someone's heart directly. They have to leave, they're no way out.
Ian, I think Wambui is really helping the Jubilee government, so let them listen to her. I've just met her today for the first time. She's given the president of the Aberders, because sometimes we make something simple very complicated. So the president wants to do the right thing, but here he's being pulled, Kalenjins are meeting day and night and all this rubbish. Let them just use Aberders as a precedent and act on Mau today. End of story. There are so many meetings. There's a meeting in Narok. There was a meeting yesterday. There's a, it's not acceptable. Use Aberders as a precedent, act and move forward. End of story.
Thank you very much. I've been speaking to constitutional expert Nyamongo Osvungus. We also have a director at the Irrigations Board, that is Wambui Nyutu, senior political analyst Benji Ndolo, as well as current political affairs analyst Eric Regalo. We're taking a short commercial break, and of course we'll continue to react to quite a number of stories, including the fact that we are expecting a briefing by the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Sports, Mr. Karimi Kabera, who will tell us more about the under-20 championships and the fact that Kenya has actually been selected by the IAAF. Stay tuned for this and more.